Wholeness. Welcome to Notes of Nara. My name is Naja Rashida, and may this message find you well and whole. Whew, it has been a week, a long week, but it's Friday. And Merry full moon to those of you who observe the energy of the moon. Um, it's not, it's not anything special that I do. I'm not like, ooh, ritual, ooh, a full moon, ooh, it's nothing crazy like that. You feel it. You feel the energy. I think that's the most important thing, and that brings about that awareness. The awareness brings that feeling. So it's just, it is what it is, wherever your paradigm lies. Today's topic is a continuation of accountability, and I wanted to get into the archetype of the saboteur. You see, we have the victim, the child, the saboteur, and I believe the judge, if I'm not mistaken. The book's right over there, but I don't want to. I don't want to show how incredibly messy my living room is. I literally just have books and papers and papers and books. Grad school, I don't know, like when you're a student and you're like deep in it, you're deep in whatever you're doing. It's just you do what you can to get by, So yes, what is the saboteur archetype? The saboteur archetype is in everyone, everything, and it shows up in its own unique ways. Okay, and I will say this: the saboteur is very sneaky. A lot of our archetypes are very sneaky in how they bubble up from our consciousness. They're just aspects of our consciousness that's there, just like those of you who believe in spirit guides and animal spirits and all that and above. We have these archetypes which are just mirroring. They're like reflections of aspects of our consciousness that we are born into. And so when we study these archetypes of our consciousness, it gives us like a deeper understanding of the depth of who we are and our purpose in life and why we do the things that we do, why we believe in the things that we believe. And you know what? Look, I used to be on this manifestation kick back in the early 2000s. Early 2000s. I used to be just like, the law of attraction came out. My dad also spoke of this way of thinking and this mindset. So I was exposed to it, I would say, in my early adult, teen years, early teen years to the early 20s, where it's like you just, you are the master of your fate, you are the master of your reality, no one can tell you what to do, you can fabricate the life that you desire. And I'm so sorry to break it to you, but life isn't that simple. We make it very complex, and within that complexity, we can get kind of hung up on the ego. And so with that, we have to, if anything, we're co-designers of life. We are co-designers with life. We are co-creators. We are side by side with being able to create, but also just being in the flow of what is. There are things in my life that I was meant to experience. And without those experiences, I wouldn't be able to sit here and talk about such things like this. Or maybe I would be, but it would be slightly different, right? But it wouldn't be how it is right now. The most authentic part of myself I'm sharing with you. At least I do my best to be authentic, right? It's a shared experience to exist. And within that shared experience, not everything is in our hands. It's okay to ask and demand and desire and to want and to need, that power and control to create your reality. However, there are things at play, and those things at play are hidden and they're secret until you invoke these parts of yourself. And this isn't like worshiping a god. You're not worshiping archetypes. You're not, embodying archetypes. You're not doing anything like that. This isn't worship. This is and becoming aware of what is hidden within that can give you direction. All that we seek is already within us. And a lot of the time, we just have to go on that journey of seeking to realize it. That everything is mirroring in some way, some fashion, our own beingness, our own state of our consciousness in some way. And ego gets very much in the way of that. Ego it wants to be the end all be all. Ego wants to be in the spotlight, right? The I, the me, the myself, my, me, mine. It's all about the ego, the I am. It's I. It has its place. It has a role to play, but a lot of the time it dominates. And so with the Saboteur, what we have is an archetype that is very much it's here to teach us to face our fears. A lot of the time Saboteur comes from the sabotage, to set yourself up, to block yourself, to get in your own way. Self-sabotage is awful, being sabotaged by something outside of yourself is quite awful, but self-sabotage is even more dire and more serious offense to your own purpose, to your own path. And for me, it shows up. I'm like, why is it that I procrastinate? What is the issue? And I've overheard on a video the other day that procrastination is a sign of it's like a trauma response to something. And I haven't really deeply investigated what that is, but I thought that was quite interesting. But I am discovering right now that procrastination is showing you something. Procrastination, the frequency of procrastination is showing you the anxiety that you have towards the task that you need to complete, or the person that you need to talk to and have a conversation with. That feeling, that angst that you get inside the pit of your stomach. You know you need to be doing something. You know you need to be creating something. You know you need to be releasing something. You know you need to be, letting go of something. You know you need to be, freeing yourself or liberating yourself or giving into something, but you're not, out of fear. And with the Saboteur, it is most important. What the Saboteur can teach us is to feel the fear and do it anyway. And I know I made a video a long time ago, maybe last year, the year before, I think, about, feeling the fear and doing things anyway. But when you begin to increase your awareness of the Saboteur and the role the Saboteur plays in your life, it then becomes a partner. It becomes an active ingredient in your reality. You don't have to feel like you have to conquer the world, because sometimes when we feel fear, I've always really admired outdoorsy people, and I've definitely had my outdoorsy phase in my life, especially, I think pockets here or there where I'm just kind of like free and out in nature and camping and just being out, right? Out there in the world, in nature, and doing things raw, and it's just a very visceral, vivacious feeling I get when I do that, especially because nature allows that. But it's when you choose to open yourself up to deeper healing, and I'm in that space right now in my life. Truly, I am. It's definitely not an easy feat. It's going to take some time, but not forever. It's going to take some time, but not forever. And for a long time, I felt like, why was I pulled back to my home state? How come I'm not back in France, or how come I'm not in Asia somewhere teaching English, or how come I'm not, in Quebec, or moving and traveling, living out of a bus. Like, these are many different things and avenues that I've thought about taking in my life, because I have just a very atypical lifestyle. I'm not very much into the sticks and bricks. I don't like decorating my home. I don't like being bounded by things and jobs, and you know what I'm saying? I'm a student of life, and that's it. And that's how I treat my career. Because, man, let me tell you, Saboteur is alive and kicking. I'm under a lot of mental stretching right now. And I'm practicing mindfulness with my words because I've been saying mentally exhausted, but I rather say I'm mentally stretched. Because with stretching, it's you're elongating, you are also releasing a lot of tension as well when you stretch your muscles, when you stretch your body. You know what I'm saying? Stretch your arms, you're releasing that pent up tension that turns into knots and then, a pinched nerve and torn muscles if you don't allow yourself to expand. So I feel incredibly mentally stretched right now. And it's like how can I describe my career right now, or my work or my lifestyle? It's like I have 2 feet, but I got 6 different pedals, and I'm steering, and I gotta find the right pedal to move the vehicle forward. And it's not always perfect. And so with procrastination, it's a sneaky little thing. And it's like I actively have to be in, like, pray about it and just seek guidance with it. And it's like I have to really tune in to my intuition. It's like, okay, now's the time to push, or like to get started, push through this, stay hyper focused. Like today, progress monitoring reports for my students, my kiddos were due today. I got it done. Was it perfect? Absolutely not. Was it at the standard that I want it to be? Absolutely not. But I got it done, and it should be sufficient enough with the data that I could muster to get together. But it's just a lot going on, like the documentation, the paperwork, the managing of behaviors, just so much with that. And then I had tonight, I told myself, like, I'm going to finish writing my paper because it's due tomorrow by like midnight. But it's like, I'm going to write and finish my paper all night and stay up all night. And it's like, I'm not a generator. I am like a projector. I don't know if you know anything about human design, but look into it if you're interested. It's not something I don't treat it like a Bible. Look, a side note, I don't claim to be anything other than what I am, okay? And that's shown through my actions, okay? And obviously through my words. But there's many labels out there: light seed, light worker, witch, sorcerer, priestess, what else? Shaman, guru, like all these type of, I don't call myself that. But I use the tools that I am guided to use to help me. And so, with that, I don't know where I was going to go with that, but I just feel like I have to pace myself, and be mindful of where my body is. I feel like, if anything, with this full moon and with what's happening astrologically this year and moving forward, I think they said something about Virgo being in every new moon, every full moon, or something like that. If you guys are into astrology, I'm not that. That's not my tool per se, but I'll look at the map from time to time. But there's just a lot of deep, deep change. But I feel like I'm finally seeing and beginning to understand what inner work is. It's not just chanting and burning a candle, burning sage and going om, you know what I'm saying? Or opening up a Bible or a Quran. It literally is taking care of the body, listening to the body, listening to how the mind responds to the body, how the body responds to the mind, your, emotional status. I'm the previous video I made about empathy, or being an empath. Yes, I am one. And I was speaking to my mother, and it's actually like it can be a dark gift, meaning if you don't learn how to master the skills that it takes to in this role of an empath, right? you will succumb to a lot of darkness. I'm not saying that you will become darkness, but you'll just attract a lot of it because it's such a powerful gift. And what do I mean by that? You have the capacity to feel other people's feelings and their thought forms and their consciousness and their energy bodies on a much more abnormally like deep level. And it takes it gets to the point where this gift is so strong that it will it makes you bypass your own emotional, physical, mental, spiritual needs and wants and trauma that you have to process in order to balance out this beautiful gift. You have to process, because for the longest time, as I've mentioned before, I have this beautiful gift of just seeing the best in people, and I give people so many benefits of the doubt, and you don't really necessarily know. You bypass like the monster, the nature of the monster, and you see the angelic part of the monster, whereas you're not, the universe, God is saying, hey, I'm just showing you what this monster is and the potential of this monster. I'm not telling you to bond with it. I'm not telling you to heal it. I'm not telling you to save it. I'm telling you to observe and be cautious and be careful. But people that are if you're an imbalanced empath, you bypass what's right in front of you. You bypass the reality. You bypass the truth of what is, because you fall in love, you're entranced, you're charmed into the potential of what you see. That's very, very dangerous. So what is the role of the saboteur with this? After a while, I noticed that over the years with this gift, I become I wasn't aware of it. I look, for the longest time I wanted to be a healer. I wanted to be a doctor, to be specific. But then I have my artsy fartsy side. So I wanted to be an artist, a musician, and then I wanted to be a doctor. That's just when I was little and playing with dolls, and I'm like, oh, I was a musician, conducting, and then I was a doctor. So I always had this calling to be creative, but also heal. And then now it's like, oh, heal with creativity and be creative with your healing, right? And it's a journey. It definitely is. But I've come through, with a lot of experiences that I've had of being of service. I would get so exhausted, but it was like a deep purpose, a deep drive to show up for the people who couldn't show up for themselves. And so getting into healthcare was a really big one for me. I'm like, wow, like it's so fulfilling and whatnot. And I just use that as a coping mechanism. I use connecting to people in this beautiful, very deep way to connect to other people to avoid my own shit. I would connect with people that had similar backgrounds to my own or who suffered worse than I did from similar things and experiences as a coping mechanism to avoid my shit. I didn't know I was doing this until recently. And I'm 36, is better late than never. And and I was speaking to my mother about this because she's the same way. It's like, if you don't resolve specific issues that like plague you, you're going to attract very specific monsters into your wake. And that's just how it is. And why? So that you can awaken to yourself. That you are just as equally important as the other. That you care so deeply about. And codependent, for me, it showed up through codependency. Oh, did it. At 19 years old, fell in love, and that was I wasn't obsessed. I wasn't obsessive, or maybe I was. I mean, when you fall in love with somebody, they call it almost a mental illness, really, because the chemistry in your brain, your hormones they're haywire, and you literally just are so, like, you can't eat, you can't sleep. Come on, because you're in love, right? But I say that to say this, it doesn't have to be a dark gift. It's supposed to be neutral. It's a neutral gift. And so, how does the saboteur show up in this? And when empaths are incredible, like deeply, deeply exhausted. And yes, I know I just said I don't want to use that word, so I'm being aware. But we will exhaust ourselves to a, a breaking point, and we just stall. Like you're aware of the direction that you need to take, but you're just not taking it because you're just so overwhelmed by it all. You're overwhelmed by the responsibility. You're overwhelmed by so many things going on at once. And this sense of overwhelmness is like the procrastination is like, hey, I'm here. I'm going to feed you and give you reasons to put this off because you deserve it. You've worked so hard. Your feelings are so deep. You're just so like sensitive and so this and so that. Don't worry about it. Put it off. You don't have to do that right now. Focus on this thing. And it's just when you become more and more aware of the saboteur, you're just like, oh my God, oh. And there are things that you have to get done. And the saboteur is like, the things you have to get done, you're afraid of. So what's it going to be? And I'm not talking about like, it's the fear I'm saying is like, you don't know the end result of something at times. And I'm really big on that. I'm a perfectionist and I don't know how it's going to end up, where it's going to place me. But if anything, my procrastination is usually about my deep, deep, deep need for perfectionism. And when I have multiple things like grad school and teaching full time and my own mental, physical health and money and all these other things, so many different things going on all at once and demanding my focus and my attention, it's just kind of like, oh, like you just want to freeze. And I think the saving grace is the awareness of the saboteur, using those big bursts of energy to become hyper focused, and then allow yourself to rest. Like my mind needs to rest. My mind needs to rest. It's something else getting up at 4:20 a.m., doing my morning ritual. I do, trying to do Ashtanga, or I start with Ashtanga, meditation, chanting, and then I wash, I eat, get ready for the day, glance at emails, like get in my car, go to school, like paperwork, do all, it's just, so pacing myself. It's about the pace. It's not about the race. It's not about, comparing yourself to another, because that comes up sometimes. And a lot of people do it to make themselves feel better, But the saboteur is asking us to face what ails you with courage, with focus, with detachment to the end result, and grace. Be graceful with yourself when you begin to work with this aspect of your consciousness, because it can be quite daunting. You can't necessarily put your archetypes in a chokehold. That doesn't work like that. It's just the awareness becomes the practice, becomes, the lifestyle. And then you begin to you see your archetypes as partners, as like, you know what I'm saying? It becomes a beautiful symbiotic type of relationship that you develop with yourself. And with God, most certainly, with the higher power, with source, infinite intelligence, womb of all creation. And so, yeah, like the stresses of work, was talking to a colleague today because he's a bit younger than me, you know, by a few years, in his early 20s. And I told him, I said, you know, it's teaching is much, 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 much more of a challenge emotionally and mentally with younger people. Like you're fresh out of college, you know, like 22, 23, 24, 21, 22, 23, 24. That's very challenging to get into education because just 10 years prior, you're a kid. And so, you know, dealing with authority complex with some of these, you know, kids can be kind of a mind fuck, you know, like it can really, really stress them out. And so I tell them, I said, look, you have to, this is just a sliver of your life, of moment in time. I look at the challenges in life as training. I look at the challenges in life as a time to process, to get to know myself better. Um, Therapy is a great way to get to know yourself, to integrate what discover what that truly means for you. I think is super important, and it allows a saboteur to begin to help you heal. Like I thought I'm such a big feeler. I thought I felt what I needed to feel, and that is such a freaking lie. Like that wasn't the truth. I've been I've been sitting spiritually bypassing my shit. And I remember vowing to myself a few years ago that I would never do that, and I've done it. And now I'm aware of it, so I'm actively working on it. And I'll share later in time what I'm doing, but it's definitely it's going to be some work for sure. But I feel like this major release that I'm experiencing in my life is creating space for something that I can't truly fathom. I just know it's headed in my direction. And in order to receive whatever is to come into my life, or I into it, I need to release this. And the time is now, and I feel it very strongly. So, yes, the stresses of work and school, they're there. Did I accomplish writing my paper and finishing my midterm within the next few hours? It's 10 o'clock now. That's not realistic. I have to feel my way through things and not with my head. Here's the thing, with my gift, I can feel other people. With myself, I try to think. I overthink. I overthink and I overexplain, and you know, it's a way to, again, bypass how I feel about shit. And excuse my language, it's a full I mean, I know I've been cursing a little bit too much on here, so my apologies to those. I don't want to offend, and I want to keep this PG-13, so I'll try to be heartful about that. I'm always telling my students not to curse because it's bad. Oh my God, don't get me started. Woo-hoo! Man, I thought I was dropping F-bombs. They got me beat. But yeah, I find it quite fascinating where I'm at right now in my life. And I'm not gonna beat myself up. See, it's that perfectionism. Like, fine, like I can't get it all done. Ugh. And it's like, no. I got a good chunk of my work done. What really needed to get done today, I got done today. What I need to get done by tomorrow, I started today. You know? And I need to give myself credit for that. Another way that the saboteur showed up in my life is minimizing things that should not be minimized. To keep the peace, you know, and maybe that's that codependency thing, you know, like you don't want to cause an argument, so you're just compliant. You're compliant to ill behavior. And that's something that I really want to change. because I'm at a point in my life too, in my age, where it's like I'm just don't really give two flying about drama or things that just don't really get, like, I just don't really care for meaningless drama. I don't. I don't stress about it. I don't get paid to stress. It'd be one thing if I like they give me a $20,000 bonus. Why not? You know what I'm saying? But even still, I'm not. Look, when you see death like how I saw it in the hospital post COVID pandemic, like, nah, it does something to you, man. It puts things into perspective. And I'm forever grateful for that, because I think if I hadn't have that like previous experience last year from 2023 to 2024, bruh, I probably would have been in a like, oh my gosh, oh, like freaking out about my grades and freaking out about I care about my career. I care about what I do. I care about how I process all of this, and my progress and how much I'm learning. But at the same time, I learned to just emotionally just like, anything's better than dying, right? You know what I'm saying? I just, so I'm so grateful, man, because I know my mind, and perfectionism, it to me is toxic, because I stall. I just get like so overwhelmed by it, by like just, I don't, it's the control. That's what perfectionism is. And with music, I can beautifully channel that perfectionist attribute that I have, because you give me a sheet of music that's getting mastered. I will spend night and day memorizing every little thing on that sheet of paper until it becomes me. And but when it comes to documentation and paperwork and building human relations, oh, where does perfectionism fit in that? It doesn't. And that's hard for me. That's, I think, the biggest professional challenge I'm facing right now is it's not about perfectionism. It's about, I'm still learning what it's all about, but it's just doing what you can with the moment that you have, without and with pacing yourself without getting overwhelmed or overstimulated. And anyone who knows or who's worked with kids are overstimulated, so you're going to be overstimulated. Every age group. Toddlers have their overstimulation. Elementary school kids have their own sets, overstimulation. Middle school kids are on a whole nother effing level. This week was so hard. Oh, God. It was challenging. I'll say that. It was a challenging week. I was mentally and emotionally stretched there. So yeah, so that's I'm gonna make another video about the Saboteur archetype, because I think it's just so interesting how I'm seeing like the victim. And a side note, people get really triggered by the victim. Everybody that, the wounded child, everyone has a wounded child, okay? Everyone's got the child archetype, and it's like people are fiercely protective of their trauma. Like, rather than letting it go and doing the work to let it go, they're very protective over that feeling of, I've been wronged, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. It's okay, but I noticed that when I'm talking to people, or engaging with other human experiences, and I'm just tired of carrying what's not mine anymore. I'm done. If it don't belong to me, I'm not carrying it. It's not my responsibility. I can only be accountable for the shit that I choose to carry. I can't be accountable for my mom's stuff, or my dad's stuff, or my grandparents' stuff, or even my ancestral stuff. All I can do to influence all of the people I just mentioned is how I handle my business, how I handle myself. That's it. And I hope you all, do the same in your own way. To carry the sins of the father and the wounds of the mother throughout your entire life, has to be the one of the saddest existences. It has to be the worst way anyone could live their life. Because if you're living your life from other people's sins and other people's wounds, and then you're not actively working on your own sins and your own wounds, you're not living your life. You know? So, I'm getting tired. I'm just gonna go to sleep. I'm gonna sleep in a bit tomorrow. I'm gonna get up, finish the paper, finish the midterm, and then, make some errands, run some errands, come back and do more work. I'm not really crying, but I signed up for this because I'm meant to do this. If I wasn't meant to do it, I wouldn't be doing it. And if I didn't like a big aspect of it, I wouldn't be doing it. So I don't look at this as torture, but yeah, sometimes I'm just like, this is just like too much. Like, but I'm doing it anyway. All right, I said, may this message find you well and whole probably 5 times now. I'm tired. Excuse me. So I'm going to upload this video and call it a night. Water my... Ooh. Oh, you guys want to see my plant? Here she is. So she was just 1, and now she's 5. She lost a couple. This is in my classroom, and my classroom's being renovated now, so... But I'm going to give her some water because she's thirsty. She'll be here for a little while. I'll take her back. I might have the kids name her. Yeah, I might have her give it as a gift to one of the kids. Oh, some of my kiddos, they need extra help. Some are doing much better. It's such a journey. It's such an amazing experience. And, I'm learning not to take things personally, because that's one thing I notice in the age group of people in their 20s, your teens and your 20s, you take everything personally. And then you have